Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host, and today I've got a special episode for you. So today I'm going to recap the Rite of Passage course hosted by 3 of 7 Project and Chad Wright, who is a former Navy SEAL, or I guess retired Navy SEAL, and walk you through this. There's a ton of lessons that I pulled from this course, this training, and there's a lot of lessons that I want to share with you guys that I feel can be directly applicable to everything that you have going. Again, whether you're engineer and architect, construction project manager, you're a foreman, you're in the field, you're a superintendent, you're a laborer, wherever you are and wherever you fall within the construction industry, this is going to be super important and really have a lot of lessons for you. So first off, let me start with the Rite of Passage and what it is. So this Rite of Passage course was developed by Chad Wright of 37 Project, and it was to help, well, a couple things. One, mimic somewhat the rite of passage that he went through in really Navy boot camp. And then, he's had multiple successive rites of passage, going through SEAL training and SEAL qualification training and deployment training and all the other things that he's done, plus 100 milers and big bike rides and all the other things that Chad himself has done. But this was ultimately to help to the other, I guess, aspect of it was to mimic a full, really 100-mile race, right? And not necessarily the 100-mile distance, which I'll be doing here in a few weeks, but to mimic the full 24-hour cycle that a 100-miler typically takes. So the rules for this Rite of Passage course were very simple. First, it's in Northwest Georgia, so we all I flew in. There was a few other guys that flew in. Some drove in, some were actually local, but we met up there in outside of Rome, Georgia, and so that's one. Two is it's a full 24 hours on your feet. So we started just after sunrise on Saturday and finished, just after sunrise on Sunday. So full 24 hours on your feet. And then the rules outside of that are pretty simple. So move, eat, drink, don't sit down. That's it. Like that pretty simple rules. And we're gonna do that for a full 24 hours. We're gonna stay together as a team. And that's it. Like just eat, drink, move. Don't sit down, have a little bit of dignity, move as a team. Very simple. So out of this, there were hundreds of people that applied for it. Tens of thousands of people heard it through the 3 of 7 Project podcast. Hundreds of people applied. 16 were selected and paid to attend. 14 showed up. And then we'll get into how many finished here. So we met up Friday night, had a debrief on what was going to go down, some safety rules, things like that. And then basically we're given a time window between 4 and 8 a.m. of when we were going to get picked up in the morning. So we're going to get picked up by the van, and we need to have all our stuff ready to go for the day, right? Basically a 6-hour stint, and then we do resupplies roughly every 6 hours. So we got picked up, headed to the start point of the day, ended up getting on the trail, and very quickly, the first really probably at least 6-10 hours were fairly easy. For sure the first 6 hours were, pretty straightforward, right? It's process laps, like these are the things you've got to do to get to the point of, where it really starts to get hard. So like in a 100-mile race, you do 99 miles to just do the last mile, right? You do in a marathon 26 miles so you can do that last quarter mile, right? In a project, you do everything that you do in a project so that you can paint it and put furniture in, right? Like that's basically the epitome of all of our projects, right? You do all this work so that you can put in furniture and move in, right? So the building can be open and used. All this work leads up to that final piece. And that's what this Rite of Passage and this 24-hour mission really solidified, is you do all of this work for the last mile, the last minutes, the last piece until it is complete. And so in that first few hours, really the only thing of note was one of the guys ended up getting stung by a Japanese hornet. He kind of saw the hole in the tree, and then the hornet started coming out and ended up stinging one of the guys. So that was first. That was probably within the first half hour. Um, in Northwest Georgia, I didn't know this, but there's actually quite a bit of hills and mountains. Well, eh, mountains in the east, right? Mountains on the East Coast, not compared to like the mountains here in the West, but decent mountains. And then from some of the ridge lines that we got up to, you could see the fog just settle in the valley, and so you saw these little islands in the fog that rose above the fog, and kind of just stood out as a little island when it was a hilltop of sorts. So beautiful, really sunrise. Getting onto the trail, is a little after sunrise, but beautiful morning to start it. Fairly cool, and then it was going to just be warm throughout the day. It's Georgia in August, so it's not going to be 60 and breezy, but it was decent weather overall for the day. Pretty quickly, maybe within the first 4 or 5 hours, one of the guys already ditched his pack. It's too heavy, too much stuff in it, and he couldn't carry it. And one lesson out of this is really you move as fast as the slowest guy on the team. So when somebody can't carry their weight, it really bogs down the rest of the team. Granted, we had some strong individuals. We ended up sharing and rotating the pack. There was a couple guys that really just took it for long durations throughout this period with this individual, and this lasted really for a good long while. This probably started 4 hours in, and lasted for another 8 hours. Eventually we did divvy up their pack, make sure we got all the heavy stuff out, or water dispersed. They had a bunch of bags and stuff in it. And this goes to show, like, kind of bring what you need, you know, like check your gear out before you go onto these trips. Check your gear out before you go onto a job site, right? Very simple, like, thing, in the electrical world. It's make sure to test your meter before you use it, and to verify that a circuit's dead. Test it on a known live circuit, and then you can test it on a dead circuit, because you now verify that the meter does work. So then you can test it and verify it on a dead circuit and actually confirm that it is dead, so that you reduce your risk of something going wrong, or it being hot when it shouldn't be. So simple little things like that go a long way, right? Testing your gear, checking your gear, making sure everything works properly, um, that you train with your gear, your pack. Now, I didn't train with the specific backpack that I had, but I knew it was lightweight. I knew it would meet all the criteria that I had for the day. I ended up carrying 5 liters of water with me, which no other pack that I have would have worked. This was the smallest backpack that I had. And then I ended up carrying 5 liters of water with me, and even still ran dry at certain points in the day. So again, test your gear, make sure your gear works, make sure it's the right gear for the job, um, and go from there. Right. This individual did not have their gear really squared away. They did not test it efficiently, and more importantly, they were not sufficiently trained physically, but more importantly, mentally. And there's really another individual that I'm going to get to here shortly who did not have the mental strength. This person was just very weak physically and mentally, and ended up quitting fairly early, right? Probably at the 10-12 hour mark, second aid, second resupply station. They just quit and didn't have it in them, physically did not have it, did not do the right things, didn't eat, didn't drink when they were supposed to, got behind, and it really just wrecked them. Plus, again, it's just a mentally weak individual, and could not do it. Again, we were walking. This is, yes, there's some hills. Yes, it's hot, but we are simply walking. That is it. Like, you don't even have to walk that fast. Like, this is just walking, hiking. Yeah, there's some bugs, but it's the woods, it's Georgia, it's summer, it's what it is. So that was one. And then two, so at the second resupply, this individual had dropped the first individual, the very weak one. And by this time, a second individual on the team had started giving up their pack. Their pack was for sure not as heavy. They did not carry as much stuff. And the other guy, like, his frame alone on that backpack had to be like 5 to 10 pounds. I mean, it was just heavy. And so the second individual, we'd already started carrying their pack, amongst the team, and again, took out as much stuff as we could. There really wasn't much to it. It was water, and then these guys were just carrying water, by themselves, some food on occasion, and it really go to show, going in the second uh, resupply, about I'm saying the 12-hour mark. So that's another thing. We didn't have our phones or watches, so I did not know what time it was. I didn't know how far we'd gone, none of that. And so at the second resupply, again, I'm filling water, trying to get food and all my water fills, electrolytes in it, nutrient packets, all that stuff into my water so that, like, I don't cramp on the trail. I'm eating right. I make sure I have enough water. So I'm hydrated, all the proper things that I need to do. And I didn't realize that one of the first individual that dropped, he was weak. And then uh also, and I'm just trying to, we have 10 minutes in this resupply, which might sound like a decent chunk of time, but when you're trying to, you know, get your pack straightened out, you're trying to refill all your water, you're trying to get food and everything squared away. It's like it's a tight time frame. So apparently the second individual was starting to say things of like, I quit, I'm done. And um, what becomes telling in the lesson here as we get through it is, well, let me just walk through what happened next. So first individual quits, we're down a man, right? So we had 14 at start, we're now down to 13. And so we everybody gets done, we've resupplied, we're moving. And so now we have we're getting back together as a team, we're moving, and there ends up being a very good climb that we're going on. It's somewhat steep, but kind of rolling, gentle, and more so, like, Chad made it to say that, like, this is one of my favorite climbs, of the course and the trail, and really just to try to get in people's heads, right? To mess with everybody and all that kind of good stuff. Most of the rest of the team was not having it. It's like, we know you're lying to us. We know that there's going to be more hills to come. We know that this isn't probably the worst of it even. And for sure it wasn't. This was not even close to the worst of it. But that, hey, like, this is one of my favorite climbs of the day, one of the hardest, blah, blah, blah. And it got in this other guy's head. And it started to break him, where he was doing okay. And then just mentally became tough. We were trying to put words of encouragement into this individual, and just kept trying to breathe some life into this guy. Make sure he ate, make sure he drank, make sure he had enough energy. And then at some point, Chad ends up putting what is termed an OPM vest. So operational, or ORM vest, operational risk management. I don't know all the psychological things of that vest, right? It's vest. It's a reflective vest. And I'm sure, in the military, there was a lot of other connotations around that vest. But for this, it, showed that this individual was singled out, that we knew he was struggling, that there was no hiding within the group. Again, there's 13 of us, 2 instructors. Like, there's no place to hide throughout the day or doing any of this, right? We're all there, we're moving as a team. You can see who's moving slow. Like, there is nowhere to hide. And this vest just kind of brings it out, brings it to the forefront. And we get to the point where this individual just mentally cannot proceed. There was another guy in the group who, again, kudos to him, to Teddy to stepping up and really trying to breathe some life into this guy. I mean, feeding chip at a time to him, really just breathing a ton of words of encouragement. The stuff I was doing did not work. I try to just move ahead and clear the path. Um, and then again, there got to a point where he just was not going to proceed with the team. And the lesson here is no matter the words of encouragement that you breathe into somebody that does not want it, you cannot make them move. So as much as you want it for somebody, as much as you want them to want it, as much as you want them to proceed, as much as you see what they're capable of and can do, frankly, it does not matter, right? You still need to try and breathe, life into people and give them encouragement. But there is a point where no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it will not be heard. And then on the flip side of that, the people that do have it within them, the people that do have the strength, the people that do have the courage, the will, the determination, the grit, the fortitude, all the things that we talk about, right? Those people that do have those innate and inherent skills, traits, and drive, right? Work ethic, all that. And then breathing that type of life into them, those words of encouragement, the positivity, the reinforcement, the saying that you can do it, you can move, you're built for great things. Saying that to the right people will get them so much further, right? Like you will leaps and bounds past what they were initially capable of, and then getting that life breathed into them will put them in a trajectory that they would not otherwise have been capable of. But the person that wants to quit, yes, it will get them further, that is for sure, but they're still going to quit. They're still not going to meet the standard. They're still going to fall short, and it is all in their minds. And how do I know this? Well, that individual quit on the trail, right? It was done, sat down, game over. They then walked 3 miles out to get a ride. They could physically walk. They were mentally broken, right? Physically, they were fine. There was no ails with them. They did not cramp. They were moving fine, right? There was no problems in the stride. They didn't break a leg. There was no physical issues. It was all mental, 100% mental. And this just goes to show that individuals with weak constitutions are going to quit. You can breathe as much life as you want into them, but they will quit. And so as leaders, it is our job to determine who has it, who doesn't, who to breathe life into, who not, and then proceed forward. As a team, we move great as a unit. Towards the later hours, really probably at hour 18 on in the night, I was, well, 10 hours a night. So at hour 14, maybe 16, 18, I became, let's just say, 4 hours in there, probably at hour 18, let's call it 16 to 18, somewhere in there. I became one of the slower teammates. Like I just felt myself where I'm going to be a little slower than the guys. So I'm going to be up front or close to the front to help keep pace or to keep up. We had one guy that basically as soon as it hit night, he led. Aaron did a fantastic job. This dude carried packs from the weaker teammates for long durations. He set the pace basically the entire night, led from the front, was great at it, and really did a fantastic job in leading the team. And then as night went on, there were times where, especially in like the big climbs and stuff, where I pushed myself to the front. I was a squad leader as well, but I knew I was moving slower than some of the other guys. So I deliberately put myself up front in the crew to ensure that I wasn't going to fall behind, and then to make sure, because I was in the front, that I was taking good steps, that I was really deliberate and pushing the pace. Again, we're just walking. I'm not running, but I'm taking very strong, deliberate steps, keeping a good pace, and being up front helped me to do that. And then when we had to go like single file on single track trail, um, you know, Aaron led, and then Matt, and then myself, again, to just make sure that I did not fall behind the team, and could be up front and push the pace and do well in that, where, I wasn't going to hold up the team, but we had a good, strong pace setter through the night. Um, Really, as the night went on, we went into some uh, single track, very overgrown, very technical trails, a ton of rock, ton of sticks, um, and dinner and that way on. Really, everybody ate well. I stuffed a bunch of Bojangles chicken fingers in my pocket to eat throughout the night and later on. And then, there was another resupply. And through that, like, I did pretty well. Didn't really think about what time it was. We did probably a couple hour out. I'm guessing we had 4 hours ish at this last resupply. And then, so we went probably 2 hours out, 2 hours back, if I were to guess, on how far we went. But again, night was good. And this was really, honestly, this night push was the biggest obstacle that I had to overcome, for a couple of reasons. One, night has been where I've fallen apart in all my big races. So in a 50 miler, yeah, I'm going to finish most likely in the dark. However, I'm not going to run in the dark for that long, 1 to 2 hours. It's not going to be that prolonged night duration. So for me, I'm not going to like break in the middle of the night. So that's one. Two is overcoming some of the sleep things. So my first 100-mile race, there was a guy that fell asleep in front of me, and it kind of freaked me out. It for sure freaked me out. And I ended up quitting at 62 miles. Physically, again, I could have finished that race. There was nothing wrong with me physically. It was a mental break, and I did not finish that 100 miles. So the second race that I had, I was not physically prepared for it to climb, the 23,000 feet of the course. I climbed half of it. And again, it was over time. So I did not finish on that either. I did 50 miles, and that was a day for me. So this race, one, nighttime, has been a little bit of a mental piece for me. Again, not that it's physical. This is all purely mental. And this goes to show like how much of this game really is mental, like how much you can physically get through is quite a bit. Like, I was chafing, and it chafed pretty much from about hour 6 on, and it got worse. Like, my entire inner thighs were chafed. Any place my backpack touched me, again, I'm carrying significantly more weight. I usually carry at most 3 liters of water. Here I'm carrying 5 plus more food, in a little heavier backpack. So I've got, a good substantial amount. I've got a gallon and a quarter on my back. So I'm carrying, 10, 15 pounds of weight. Then on top of that, we're doing some hills and that kind of stuff. So my inner thighs were all chafed up. My shoulders up top, where the backpack straps touched, again because of the increased amount of weight, and those ended up chafing. My underarms ended up chafing, both on my side and up on my arm. Kind of the whole armpit area ended up chafing. Was just raw. The skin wore off. So yeah, like, I started to have blisters on my feet, all of that. But really, I knew that I was not quitting, so that pain was not an issue, so to say. It was, but I did what I could and just dealt with it for that duration. Then getting into the night, again, one, having a team with me definitely helped. Two, very far into the night, probably at hour 22, 23, somewhere in there, I started to fall asleep. Like, I could feel myself falling asleep on the trail. Eyes were closing, all of that. And I just told the guys around me, like, look, hey, I've got to talk. It's gonna be blabbering. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about. And it was stuff like this. Like, I really don't know what I'm gonna talk about, but I have to talk. And I have to talk just to talk so that I don't fall asleep. Like, that is it. That's the only reason that I need to talk. So if you got a topic, if you have anything to talk about, please, by all means, bring it up, because I need to just keep communicating. Otherwise, I'm going to fall asleep. And a lot of our communication ended up being like, hey, watch for the rock, watch for the stick. We're at a water crossing. Like, watch for this rock left, step up, step down, whatever that might be, to communicate to the team behind us to watch their feet, right? To kind of give them a heads up of what's coming. So that was a lot of the communication. Made sure to keep that up through the night, and then as day broke, and we, again, we're team side by side, two lines. I'm just communicating again to the team, like, don't lose it here, right? We're at the finish line. Keep going strong. Keep doing what you do. Keep marching, right? Good steps. Be solid. Like, we do not want to lose it now, right? There's no need to make a mistake, do something silly here at the final hour of and the final minutes of this course, and stay present, right? One of the guys, as soon as they heard the bird stripper, and we're like, oh yeah, we've made it, it's like, no man, focus up. Like, we're not done. We are not out of the woods yet, right? We still have time to complete this, right? We don't know how long, we don't know how far, we don't know how far after sunrise we started. Like, look, man, we're going, and just keep focused here and now, right? And so those are some of the other big lessons from the Rite of Passage course, and really everything that 307 Project teaches is be present, be patient, be deliberate. So be present, be right here in the moment. There's no need to go anywhere else other than the thing you're doing right now, right? So looking at your phone, doing an email, being on a webinar, right? Pick one and be there. Be in that thing, whether it's writing the email, whether it's checking your text and being on the phone, whether it's being in that meeting or that webinar, that Zoom call, whatever, right? Pick the thing and focus. So be present, be patient, right? Some things are not going to come easily. Some things are going to take time, and there's only so much that you can do to go through it, right? So again, this was a 24-hour course. It did not matter the distance that we covered. 24 hours. We're racing against the clock. We're not racing against a distance or anything like that. I mean, there is no goal. The goal is to do it for the duration, right? And that changes a lot of things, right? So be patient in doing the things that you can do, right? Be deliberate in what you're doing, right? So if you're present, patient, and deliberate, that means you're not rushing through a job. You're not trying to cut corners. That means you're putting everything where it needs to go. You're making all the right notes and adjustments. You're doing things correctly in the way that they need to be done, so that you're not going to have to rework it later, right? That applies way more to the field than us as engineers, because rework is also going to be at a client's behest, right? And I guess that goes for everybody, but there's only so much that we can do until we get under review, they sign off, then we can complete the other side of it, right? A lot of the time we take things way too far and then have to re-roll that back. So there's always a balance in here. Not saying any of it's perfect, it's super nuanced, but on the whole, right, if you're patient, present, and deliberate, you can accomplish a lot, right? So big lesson there. And then at the end, so Chad lighted us all up, and again, we had one other instructor, Chili. Great guys, right? They did the whole thing with us, did it exactly like us, right? They did not sit, they did not they didn't sit, like they did the whole course with us. Chili had to deal with the second quitter on the course, so he wasn't with us the whole time, but he took them back and then took another route to meet back up with us. But again, did not sit, did not just ate, move, and drink, right? Very simple things. But they were instructors. They're great. One other thing in the night before I get to the final pieces of this, it's North Georgia, and so very interesting thing that I had never dealt with, but were copperheads. So there were at night, because the snakes would come out onto the rocks in the road because they were warmer, so they come out for warmth. But we ended up running into four copperheads within like a 500-yard span, and then one other one later on. But we saw a good chunk of snakes, and thankfully Chad was able to clear the trail. We were all very tired. And I think Chad's got a lot more experience in these copperheads than we do. So we were thankful to him. He took one of the hiking poles that one of the guys had, and removed the snakes from the pathway. Nobody freaked out or anything like that. We just made sure that nobody got bitten by these damn copperheads in the middle of the night. So that was good. That was really only two wildlife. We saw the hornets, uh, saw some birds and things like that. Saw these snakes in the middle of the night. Um, and then yeah, we went around some waterfalls. So that was in the middle of the night. Um, a lot of stuff we couldn't see. Walk past some overlooks that I'm sure were beautiful in the middle of the day, but I didn't see those. So at the end of the ROP course, Chad lined us up, and with that, uh, told us to keep one thing in our minds, right? One lesson, one key takeaway, and basically gave spacing between each guy so that we would walk the last piece by ourselves, which I thought was very ceremonial and pretty cool to do, because there's again not a banner, no real nothing. So walking that piece and really keeping in mind one thing, one key takeaway was the process. Um, Process has been something that I've tried very hard to shortcut in my entire life. I graduated from high school early. I did engineering school in 4 years. I tested out some classes in engineering school. I got my license immediately at 4 years. Um, got my MBA simultaneously as working during the day, get MBA at night so that I could quickly get that, which put me right into management, which then gave me a team of 9 under me, which allowed me to do 1.5 million square feet of design work a year, that I was in responsible charge of. And then allowed me to go into a healthcare or a company that did healthcare, and we did 100 million a year in healthcare work. And again, I was a project manager and then lead electrical engineer for that work, and signed off on other projects as well electrically. So it allowed me to really shortcut a lot of these steps, if you will, and things that people wait 10 years, to become a department head, to wait all this time to, lead a team or whatever. And I've shortcutted a lot of those by getting these credentials, by getting licensed, by getting my MBA, by showing initiative, a lot of these things. And um, then inserting, Cowabunga Studios, it was software and really like the sales process, right? That you can't shortcut the process. You can't shortcut what people are going to do. Stuff takes time, right? One of the custom software development clients that I've just taken on, it took 4 years for them to finally reach out. Then it took from the time that we engaged to the time a contract got signed, another 7 months. So, like, time's going to pass either way. Then it's what are you going to do, right? How are you going to outreach? They became aware of me. They've been following me. They've stayed up on what I'm up to, what I'm doing. And just sticking to that process, being patient with folks, not trying to shortcut it, right? To follow the process, right? In this 100 miler I've got coming up, right? The process is going to be to run when I can, power hike the hills, eat, drink appropriately throughout the race, make sure that I get the right fuel in. I just bought all my proper fuel and hydration for it that I'm going to carry throughout the course. Like, I've got all this outlined. And so as we go through these things, it's, again, making sure that we have the right gear. It's everything is set up properly, that we're patient, that we're present, that we're deliberate throughout the course of whatever we're doing, whether that's a project, whether that's life, whether that's at home, whether that's running 100 miles. Pretty much all follows the same principles of be present, be deliberate, be patient, and you'll be just fine. So whatever it is we're doing, make sure that we follow those. So the process was the thing that stuck with me. The last thing that I took out of this was so 12 guys finished. So again, tens of thousands heard the podcast, few hundred applied, 16 were invited, 14 showed up, 12 finished. And what I saw after this, because Chad had us all stand up and say our one takeaway. So you had 12 guys that walked the exact same ground for the exact same time. So we did walk for 24 hours and 13 minutes. We covered 51.9 miles, and we climbed thousands of feet of elevation gain. So you had guys doing this exact same course, right? What we carried, how we carried it, all slightly different, but same course, same steps, right? Same, pretty much same weather, same environment, same everything, except for who we are. And each of the 12 of us had a different takeaway. There was only one other guy that said process, and his takeaways were different than mine. So goes to show that you doing the exact same thing over the exact same time, over the exact same duration, covering the exact same distance. Yeah, it was all the same. We had the same food and nutrition and water and all that stuff. People had completely different takeaways, right? Where they are in life is completely different. Their experiences prior to this event were completely different. And so it was just powerful for me to see how different everyone's takeaways were, even though they had the exact same experience. Very powerful, very, very powerful. So, all this to say, one, I highly suggest you trying to do hard things. You'll take away so much more. You'll bring so much more back to your teams, to your life, to you as a person, right? Like you're more confident, you're more secure in who you are. I've already applied to go back in 2024 for another Rite of Passage course. I got that much out of it that I'm willing to go back and do this again. So, very powerful course, very awesome. After, like, we had a nice breakfast cooked for us and whatnot, eggs and bacon and grits. I mean, it was just good food. And then after, I took a nap for an hour in my car because there was no way I was going to be able to drive the 20 minutes to town to get a hotel room. So took an hour nap in my car, got up, went and drove, got a hotel room, and then promptly fell asleep for another 3-4 hours. Got some food, and just laid around until I had to drive, get up in the morning and drive to the Atlanta airport and fly back home. So, again, all this to say, guys, like these hard challenges, right? Whether it's 75 hard, whether it's the Live Hard program, whether it's this Rite of Passage course, being on your feet for 24 hours, whether it's running a marathon, a 50 miler, a 100 miler, doing an Ironman, any of these challenges that are out there in life are super valuable for you in many different ways. The lessons that you pull from them are innumerable, and everybody's going to have a different takeaway from the event. I found that I just have a lot of strength through these events, through doing these hard things. Like I know I can overcome pretty much any obstacle. Maybe I'm not always the most patient, but things like this, for having to do it for the duration, right? Not just the distance, was a very different mindset for me. I couldn't outrun the clock. The clock is always there and it's always ticking. So all I had to do was continue to move. That was it for 24 hours. And so we probably had an hour worth of resupply stops. So we moved continuously for 23 hours. But even during those, uh, 2 10s and 2 20-minute breaks, we did not sit, right? We stood or took a knee for those resupply stops. Again, guys, all this to say, like, be patient, be present, be deliberate, follow the process, and you'll achieve your outcome. It might take longer than you think. It sure has for me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I've gained a lot of momentum, a lot of perspective. We're doing anything from custom software development to engineering work to drafting work to getting people's projects where they need to be, building Revit templates. We've just had this huge influx of people reaching out for a variety of different things around uh, production, right? Around getting drawings done in Revit for building projects of all shapes and sizes. And it's been really fun, probably last 3-6 months in doing this, building these teams and process around it, making connections and having some good partnerships formed out of it. So again, stick to the process, be deliberate, and good things are going to happen. So, guys, that's this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.